stay tuned for Sean Hannity. He's next.
Lying, pomposity, smugness, groupthink. I got it. I broke the record.
You, Sean.
All right, great show as always. Thank you, Tucker. Welcome to Hannity. Major breaking news tonight. The president is in excellent health, but the liberal mainstream media is not. Absolutely melting down about the president's great medical test results. It's unconscionable. Wait till you see this video tonight. Plus, everything that we have been reporting on here that the media has been ignoring, it is now unfolding. The phony Clinton bought and paid for Russian propaganda dossier, that is being exposed. There is an indictment. Did anyone else report this? In the Uranium One scandal. And brand new tonight, a key witness in the exoneration before investigation of corrupt Hillary Clinton and the email server scandal will be grilled by congressional lawmakers. It's all coming to pass, as I've told you. And a bombshell report from Sarah Carter tonight about Fusion GPS continuing to investigate to this day President Trump. It's all in tonight's Breaking News opening monologue. We'll break it down slowly. A big hour tonight. The corrupt, Trump-hating news media, they are dusting off their tinfoil hats, fueling up their black helicopters, and are running absolutely wild with baseless conspiracy theories about President Trump and his great health report. We're going to cover the out-of-control media and this bias. We do it regularly on the program, but this is now insane. This is a new level. So Dr. Ronnie Jackson, he briefed the media on the results of the president's extensive medical exams. What did he find? A president in excellent health. And Dr. Jackson is also saying the president that he did so well in a cognitive test, and he has normal, perfect neurological functions. No early onset on Alzheimer's or dementia. Now, of course, it did not fit the media and their preconceived fake news narrative that President Trump is crazy, suffering from dementia, early onset, and is mentally unfit to serve, which means in their twisted minds, he needs to be thrown out of office. For 49 long minutes, the media breathlessly, hysterically asking the president's doctor about his mental fitness. They couldn't believe the answers they were getting. He asked for the cognitive test. It's one of the best tests out there. And he passed it perfectly, 30 out of 30. This is something they have been obsessing over. You're going to enjoy this. Watch.
Can you assess the president's mental fitness for office?
The president appeared to slur his words while giving an address. Did you look into what the cause of that might have been at all?
Are you ruling out things like early onset Alzheimer's? Are you looking at dementia-like symptoms?
On what basis would you, and this is just a philosophical question, advise the cabinet that the president is unable to discharge his duties? How does that bar get met?
When you analyze his cognitive ability or his neurological functions, that is not the same thing as a psychiatric exam or a psychological exam.
It is not.
You mentioned that you gave the president a cognitive test. Was that the mini mental state examination or the Boltzmann test? Or if not, can you tell us what specific cognitive test you gave?
Given that there's scrutiny of what was overlooked at the time with President Reagan in terms of Alzheimer's and things he was then known to suffer from at a later date. Can you say that whether the test that you ran would exclude any of those things?
The president's age in continuing his physicals in the future, will you also continue the cognitive testing?
You say that the president was the one who requested the cognitive test, that it wasn't necessarily needed for someone of his age. Did he tell you why he wanted it done?
What is your take of all the doctors and clinicians all across the country who have said that in this president they see symptoms of this, that, and the other?
Symptoms in what way?
Well, symptoms of dementia.
Pretty amazing. Now, to reiterate, Dr. Jackson, he told the media that the president is in excellent health and he could easily serve for 2 terms. That really got to them. Now, the only thing wrong, okay, he has moderately high cholesterol. A lot of us do. He needs to lose a couple of pounds. A lot of us do. And, of course, the media, they couldn't stand the good news. They couldn't even believe it. Now, this is what's interesting. They have so convinced themselves in their little bubble that they have. You know, it's like an echo chamber that only they listen to. Endless hours of speculation that the president was unfit for office. So the press conference just continued to go off the rails like I have never seen before. Never before has a doctor been this transparent with the media asking Dr. Jackson about things like the president's Twitter use, his television watching habits, how many scoops of ice cream he has for dessert. Take a look at what supposedly is investigative journalism in this country in action. Take a look.
Do you keep a tally of how much golf the U.S. president plays?
Some of the president's friends have told reporters in the past that they think he's a germaphobe, that he washes his hands obsessively and is concerned about that. Have you seen any indication of that type of behavior?
Does he watch too much TV?
I don't.
From a sedentary lifestyle sort of perspective, should he cut back on that?
Do you see any evidence of bone spurs, which the president said that he suffered from? Is he limited to one scoop of ice cream now?
Do you have any concerns about the president's Twitter?
No, I don't. Yeah, Twitter doesn't involve me as a doctor. I don't have any concern on that.
Does the president wear dentures?
He
You
does
mentioned the
not.
dental exam.
The president has no partial or indentures of any kind.
You said he doesn't drink and he doesn't smoke, and other than the diet issue, did you address drug addiction?
Drug addiction?
I mean,
Yeah.
any other drugs?
Yeah, no, he has no drug addiction.
We have a lot of people in the studio tonight. They're all laughing. All right, we actually went back and we checked to see if the media ever asked anything close to those kind of questions about Barack Obama's health or any other president for that matter. And the answer, of course, they did not. Now, after that frenzied display, members of the media, they should have their own heads examined. Look, I've said this before. Hating Trump is their heroin. It's their drug. And they're completely hooked on their drug. They're like addicts. The only thing that gives them their fix is attacking the president minute by minute. And the media is so completely, utterly unhinged and deranged. And today's press conference is just their latest episode. Now, ever since President Trump announced his candidacy, you have the blind sheep in the liberal media who live in their own little bubble and bounce their own recycled talking points in their own little echo chamber. They've been rushing to create a new crisis after a new crisis after a new crisis. And their recent hyperventilation has reached extreme levels, even for their pathetically low standards, by the way. It's one crisis, one panic, one total meltdown after another where they repeat the exact same words, meaning NBC, ABC, CBS, New York Times, Washington Post. They use the same commentary until something better can be blown out of proportion comes along. And for the last couple of weeks, let's see, the media's schizophrenia has been on full display. It's gone from a year of saying President Trump colluded with Russians, there's no evidence, to President Trump is going to start a nuclear war. They're not mad that it was, in fact, Bill Clinton that gave North Korea billions and promised it's going to be a good deal for American people. To the media being BFFs with Steve Bannon, you know, they were friends for at least 3 days because he made comments that they liked for once, and then giddiness over Bannon's comments in Michael Wolff's phony book. Now, this is the narrative that now it's Trump's crazy. We should invoke the 25th Amendment. We'll use that to throw him out of office. Russia didn't work. Take a look at this insane coverage that you're getting. And I tell you, media is dead. I told you in 2007. I was more right than I ever dreamed. Take a look.
We want to start with This Week in Russiagate.
This cloud about collusion with Russia will hang over him no matter where he stands.
Donald Trump is afraid. A political hurricane is out there at sea for him. We'll call it Hurricane Vladimir, if you will, the whole Russian thing.
This is evidence of willingness to commit collusion.
There's outright treason. I mean, there is no question that what he is doing is giving aid and comfort to the enemy.
The idea of a nuclear showdown with North Korea keeps you up at night? I would recommend deleting your Twitter app.
This is language that would have been rejected from the script of Dr. Strangelove. We can't begin to normalize this. This is dangerous. This is childish. This is unpresidential. It's not befitting the leader of the free world.
Perhaps never have we seen a man whose profound sexual and masculine insecurities are literally threatening to annihilate the planet.
He is not merely being cavalier with a threat about nuclear war. He's being cavalier in a way that makes him seem demented.
These are the messages from a person who is not well, from a leader who is not fit for office.
None of this normal, none of this acceptable, none of this, frankly, stable behavior.
Return now to the public rift that broke out today between President Trump and his former chief strategist, Steve Bannon.
But if Bannon and Trump are getting divorced, who gets what?
This is certainly Trump's kind of bye Felicia moment for Bannon.
Wait, Dr. Humpty Dumpty and Dr. Anderson Cooper and Dr. Nicole Wallace. This is hard to keep up with. You see, if you watch really closely, this is how they do it. This is interesting. One person will say in their bubble, he's really demented. No, he's really, really demented. And then the next liberal will say, no, really, really, really demented. And they're talking to themselves. Get how they need their own examination? There's a reason the American people don't watch a lot of these fake news networks. Now, after moving on from these manufactured crises, one after another, the media's new drug of choice is the alleged comments that President Trump made in a heated Oval Office debate about immigration. Fake news, CNN loses it. They need some help. They need some psychiatric help. And according to the Media Research Center, the network literally said on air, "Shhole." I'm not allowed to say it, I'll be honest. I'd say it. Not allowed. 195 times on Friday alone. Take a look.
What was your reaction when you heard the president call, African nations holes?
It's not clear what he meant by whole countries.
Are you shocked or surprised by this?
I'm not surprised. In one way, I'm proud. I am a proud holer.
No, we are not all created equal, at least not if you are born in, as the president put it, a whole country.
The word house instead of whole, as in house countries, not whole countries.
I guess he's a holer.
Is there a difference if the president said whole or house?
Do you think these countries are holes?
Donald Trump has turned the Oval Office into a hole.
Holers built this country 110 years ago.
In addition to the president's comments yesterday, a few more.
Whole countries.
Hole.
Whole. 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 Whole country. Rich, do you have any example of any whole country that the president referred to that is predominantly Caucasian?
Holers.
Holes.
Holers. I work for holers.
Hole. Hole. Hole.
Hole. I'm proud to be a holer.
I never in a million years thought I would be saying hole on television.
What a hole. Fake news network. Now, I wonder if the CEO, soon to be scandal plagued Jeff Zucker and his stenographer Humpty Dumpty are really proud of that coverage. It's pretty pathetic. Maybe I need to do a public service. Maybe I need to send CNN over a case of Xanax if I can get it legally. And since the media, led by the highly esteemed Drs. Joe Scarborough and his soon-to-be bride, Dr. Mika Brzezinski, since they love to diagnose the president even though they have zero medical qualifications, all right, let me play the same game. I'll step into their echo chamber for a minute, and I'll play their game. Here's Dr. Hannity's prescription tonight. All of you in the fake news network, you desperately, trust me, need psychiatric help. You are all out of touch with reality and suffering from delusional groupthink about the president. And if for some reason you overpaid lazy so-called journalists can't pay for it, I'll help you because I'm probably paid more, and I'll offer assistance. And also tonight, everything that we have been telling you, let's get serious for a minute, is now starting to play out. This is the serious side. They don't talk about forgotten men and women. And by the way, this isn't about me being right, the show being right, even though we are clearly, the team that we have assembled here, the only ones in the media talking about it. It's about what's right for the country. It's about our Constitution. This is what's serious about it. What's right for the rule of law, equal justice under the law. We have been uncovering, unpeeling the layers of that onion. The Clinton bought and paid for fake news, Russian propaganda dossier. It is now being exposed, and there's so much more to come. We're learning the dossier was used by the Obama administration to literally spy and get that FISA warrant on members of the Trump campaign and a president-elect. This is serious. They've weaponized America's most powerful tools of intelligence to go after an opposition party in an election year, and then, of course, a president-elect. We have a massive development tonight in the Clinton email server scandal. Washington Examiner reporting that the chief of staff and senior counsel to the FBI director, Christopher Wray, will be grilled by House lawmakers about the corrupt Clinton email investigation. Oh, I thought that was dead. And that's huge because Rybicki, who's the one that's going to be grilled, was one of 3 people that James Comey sent his original statement that exonerated Clinton, before they investigated, and 17 other witnesses and Hillary Clinton hadn't even been interviewed for. How do you write an exoneration before investigating? Yeah, this is serious. The same statement where Comey and his minions changed the word twice from the legal standard, gross negligence, which would mean Hillary Clinton broke the law, and actually put in there that, foreign entities got a hold of this. And then they changed it to extreme carelessness. And they used as a justification all of this to let Clinton walk free. We know she committed felonies. That's serious if we have equal justice under the law. And then Comey and his little minions also altered the original conclusion. It was reasonably likely that Clinton's server stored in the bathroom of a mom and pop shop closet was hacked by hostile actors. Top secret, classified, special access program information, all hacked. And yet the fix is in before they investigate. And now we're learning more and more about how top officials at the FBI covered up evidence that Hillary Clinton committed crimes and put our national security, your national security, at risk. And just like with everything else we have been telling you that the media ignores, it is only the start of much bigger things that will be coming. I promise you, this will rival the worst scandals by far in American history. It's that severe. And there's other breaking news tonight. Sarah Carter reporting the Fusion GPS, you know, the firm that Clinton bought and paid for the fake news Russian dossier that was used to get the FISA warrant, to dig up dirt on President Trump, candidate Trump. Well, what is unclear is who is paying for it now. We know Hillary Clinton, the DNC, she controlled, shelled out $12 million to fund Fusion GPS, to pay for those Russian lies. They wanted to influence the election. After all, they stole the primary from poor Bernie and his supporters. And sources are telling me tonight that if the information is about the dossier, if it's related to the public, this is what I was told. It will shock the conscience of law-abiding Americans in the entire country. That's how serious it is, as the media makes fools of themselves every night. And we're hoping that you, the American people, that you will get to see everything, because I am told when you do, it will blow you away. The real Russian scandal will finally be exposed. Here with reaction, Fox News contributor Sarah Carter, Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett. Sarah, let's start with you and your new report tonight. This thing is still going on?
It's still going on, Sean. What we know is that Fusion GPS, Glenn Simpson, is continuing their research into Trump. Now, what they're holding closely is who's paying for it. What they're also not divulging is what area of investigation are they looking at. So we know that it's Trump, this alleged Trump-Russia collusion, but what we don't know is exactly what area are they looking at as far as their investigation. I think it's really shocking and surprising considering everything that's happened with Fusion GPS.
All right, I can make fun of the media, and I'm going to be honest. I think the whole montage is funny. And I think they do need psychiatric help. I truly believe it. But now when I get to the serious side of it, which is the law, equal application of the law, the Constitution, surveillance abuses, Fourth Amendment violations, and then, of course, the forgotten men and women ignored. It's not funny anymore.
The worst is the changing of Comey's exoneration statement that initially found Hillary Clinton had violated the law and committed crimes. Critical wording was changed by a handful of people. We know already Andrew McCabe apparently was involved in that. After withering cross-examination before Congress 2 days later, he made it be known he's quitting before being demoted or fired. Next in line is James Rubicki. We learned that today. He'll be questioned. After that, Lisa Page, inevitably Peter Strzok. These are the individuals who appear to have unduly influenced James Comey, and maybe he did it wittingly, to exonerate Hillary Clinton in the face of overwhelming evidence.
They did it purposefully. You don't write an exoneration.
Sure.
Before an investigation. You do not do it. And the media, if they had an ounce of honesty, if this was Donald Trump that had an exoneration and no investigation, they really would need that box as annex.
Comey initially wrote that the sheer volume of classified documents on an unclassified server in the basement of her home was evidence of gross negligence. Somebody changed it. Congress needs to get to the bottom of it. You can't count on somebody like Mueller to investigate that. He's got his own political agenda.
Sarah, I heard the words, what the House intelligence community was handed by the Department of Justice. And there's 1.2 million pages of materials that was handed over by the IG to Congress. This is after a year's worth of investigating. The words I got were, it will shock the conscience and the soul of this country.
Unfortunately, that is the words I'm hearing as well. I mean, we know how extensive this is, and some of the questions we need to be asking, I think Greg brought up some really important points, but some of the questions they want answered is, did the FBI know when they went to the FISA courts to get a warrant to investigate Trump that the DNC and Hillary Clinton campaign were behind the payment of this dossier, which is unsubstantiated, which is salacious, the majority of which is unverified? Did they know? And if they didn't know, shouldn't they have known? And what parts of those dossiers were used to get this warrant? These are huge questions, Sean, because all of that led to spying on Trump and his campaign. And those are real stories with real connections that the media should be investigating. And I think that's what's so disappointing.
Glenn Simpson took no steps to verify the dossier that he arranged and helped pay for with Hillary Clinton
and Papadopoulos in the New York Times talked about four-way hearsay.
And now he's trying to make up for it belatedly. Well, you can't, because on its face, the document is a farce. It was a pure fabrication, multiple hearsay, no direct evidence.
Four-way hearsay. Would that ever be admitted in a court of law?
Absolutely not. Not even double hearsay.
Thank you. Funny but serious, and we've got so much more to come. We have an unbelievable show tonight. Eric Trump next, and so much more. Stay with us.
Explain to me how a guy who eats McDonald's and fried chicken and all those Diet Cokes and who never exercises is in as good a shape as you say he's in.
It's called genetics. I don't know. It's some people have, just great genes. I told the president that if he had a healthier diet over the last 20 years, he might live to be 200 years old.
Is he limited to one scoop of ice cream now?
I don't limit his diet at all. I just I make recommendations.
Does he watch too much TV?
From
sedentary lifestyle sort of perspective, should he cut back on that?
I'm not going to comment on that. I mean, I might comment on that if that were my 5-year-old. I might tell you they watch too much TV, but I'm not going to, the president, he can watch as much TV as he wants.
Media couldn't believe the reaction today. That was the president's position. Rear Admiral Ronnie Jackson answering the mainstream media is insane. And I mean literally insane. I mean, they need psychological help, psychiatric help, questions about the president's health. Here with the reaction now from the Trump Organization, President Trump's son, Eric Trump. There's a part of this is funny, but it's not funny because they, in their little bubble echo chamber, have convinced themselves. And your dad asked for a cognitive test, which apparently was one of the hardest ones that is.
And he aced it.
30 for 30.
It's insane. First of all, I think the Admiral did an amazing job.
I do too.
Second of all, does he watch too much TV? Does he eat too much ice cream? Are you kidding me? By the way, if I look around that room, half of the people that were in there, I remember from the campaign.
Yeah.
And I remember them sleep deprived, drinking cases of Red Bull because they couldn't keep up
with your father.
As he was on his 7th speech of the night, they were in the back, not speaking in front of 30,000 people 7 times in a row in 4 different states. They're totally falling asleep. They can't keep up with him. My father, first of all, I've never seen the man with a cold. Second of all, he has more energy than any person I have ever met in my entire life. He will outwork anybody. He stays up. The guy is incredible. I watch the charade and I say, give me a break, guys.
But it's been nonstop. I've listed your dad's accomplishments for the first year. 81 phenomenal. Promises made, promises kept, just regulations alone. Energy independence. He got his tax bill done. End of the mandate. ANWR finally opened. Somebody did it. These are huge accomplishments.
And nothing.
You see the economic boom that is unfolding before our eyes, and they're upset that a president is healthy.
Yeah.
Excellent health.
With that result, watch as much TV as you want. Eat as much ice cream as you want.
That's great.
The Dow is about to break 26,000.
Yeah.
Right? You have the lowest.
Actually did today.
Unemployment that you've ever had before. You have the lowest African-American unemployment that you have. You have the highest consumer confidence you've ever had. ISIS is, quite frankly, a thing of the past. You had 44,000 terrorists, or down to less than 1,000, and they're killing those guys off rapidly. Oil is.
You know what they don't like?
It's insane.
They don't like that he's not them.
Yeah.
They don't like that he has different views. They don't like that he's more irreverent and more politically incorrect. They can't handle
Sean, they don't
this.
like that they were wrong.
They don't like that either.
They don't like that they were wrong.
Good point.
They got it wrong. They all got it wrong. They were supposed to be the smart people who got to call this every time. They were the brilliant journalists. They all got it wrong. He quite frankly embarrassed them, and they're doubling down again. And he's going to prove them wrong again and again because you know what? Every day, and I've told you this metaphor 1,000 times, but it happens to me every single day. I walk down the street, and people come up to me. They hug me. Tell your father we say thank you. You know what? I just opened up my 401k. I haven't looked at it in a year. It's up by 35%. I mean, I didn't think retirement was possible.
I hate Wall Street. I wish I was up 35%.
And now it is. I mean, these are the stories I hear every single day, Sean. I mean,
you know what people tell me?
Incredible difference in this country.
Please don't stop fighting, because they know that this is like an oasis here. We're not them.
Sure.
And by the way, I've never been to a White House Correspondents' Dinner because I hate them and they hate me, so it works out well. Here's what I want to ask you. Imagine this scenario where it's proven, and the head of your party, the Republican Party, said that Donald Trump rigged a primary election. Rigged it. Donna Brazil's words, not mine. Then your dad paid for Russian propaganda with salacious lies and misinformation against Hillary Clinton to influence the general election. Then we find out that the FBI director and some of his minions put the fix in and exonerated your father before an investigation. And then we find out that that phony Russian paid-for dossier that was they wanted to use to manipulate the American people before an election to steal the general where they stole the primary, that was used to get a warrant on Hillary Clinton, Hillary Clinton's team, an opposition candidate, and then a president-elect Hillary. Thank God we don't have to say that. What would the media be doing tonight?
Well, I mean, how about just going back to the very beginning, where Donna Brazil is giving the debate questions to Hillary before the debate? I mean, could you imagine if that happened to my father? I mean, let alone all this other stuff. Meaning he would have been disqualified at that moment. There would be nothing left at that moment, let alone the fake dossiers and the phony investigations and the nonsense Russia. I mean, here's just the reality of what happened. You had a better candidate who was far more competent, who worked much harder, despite having 1/7 the amount of money, who blew the other party out of the water, right? And they needed an excuse. They needed a way to justify their loss. And if you look at the Democratic Party right now, they have no message. They have no leadership. They have no talent.
Just hate Trump and no vision to help the forgotten men and women of this country. You know what I think the best thing your dad does? He's giving one of his speeches or town halls or whatever you're doing. See those people in the back? Fake news. Yeah. And you know what everyone starts screaming? They turn and they're screaming at people in the media, you suck. And they still don't care.
They still don't understand it. It's amazing. I mean, think about having an approval rating that's equivalent to the media's approval rating, which is single digits right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
You look at any poll. I mean, wouldn't you want to change course? And maybe this is the business guy in me. If something's not working, look at CNN's ratings, right?
Good point.
They have 0 ratings, right? If something's not working, wouldn't you want to change course as opposed to doubling down and doubling down?
195 times they said hole on the fake news hole network. Yeah. Sorry, I can't help. They told me I can't say it on the air, and it's pissing me off.
By the way, not one time did they mention the Dow hitting 26,000.
No.
Not one time did they talk about
ISIS
jobs coming back to this country. Not one time did they talk about ISIS. I mean, everything that's actually important to this nation. And, you know, the one thing I learned through this whole process, I mean, if there's one thing that I'll take away is that the media does not understand, at least the vast majority of the media, does not understand the voice of this country. It's controlled out of New York. It's controlled out of LA. It's controlled by...
It's not the country, though.
Six people right at the very, very top who's, you know...
At any point do they care about the men and women in poverty, out of work, and on food stamps? At any point do they care about national security? At any point do they examine it was dumb of Bill Clinton and Obama to try and bribe murdering dictators to like us? Because unless your father
$150 billion away, I mean, think
in a cargo plane with currency from a million countries.
Everybody's complaining about $18 billion for a wall, but they're willing to give Iran $150 billion. I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
I know you guys are tough. I actually say this all the time. You can take it, your brother can take it, your sister can take it, Jared can take it. But then they pick on the first lady and your 11-year-old brother, and they don't stop. They don't even see that as being wrong.
There are no boundaries. Honestly, there are no boundaries. It's almost the worst of humanity. Sometimes there are no boundaries. The way you don't go after a 12-year-old child. You just don't. I mean,
12 now?
Somewhere right there.
You don't know either. Don't worry, we're good.
I'll focus on my 4-month-old who's growing faster.
I wish we could show the picture of your little boy that you sent me. It was great.
They went after him as well, right? I mean,
that's before he was born.
Before he was born. Chelsea Handler, what a gem. She goes, you know, I hope you have a miscarriage. I mean,
that's evil.
This is the level of evilness that you have out there. It's sick. It's
all right,
sad.
I got to roll. Good to see you.
It's good to see you.
Thanks for stopping by. Our audience like to hear from you. When we come back, a live report with Ed Henry from the White House. Sebastian Gorka, Kayleigh McEnany. Busy news night. A lot more to come straight ahead. We're following big developments out of Washington tonight. The clock now ticking towards a government shutdown. The government never really shuts down at the end of the week. I'll explain. Also, Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen was unbelievable on Capitol Hill today. Here to break it all down from the White House, Fox News Chief National Correspondent, our friend Ed Henry. Big day on Washington today.
Sean,
the government never fully shuts down, right, Ed?
That's right, Sean. And look, there's a battle that's brewing about this, but that hearing you mentioned, it was supposed to be contentious because it was going to be all about President Trump's plan for a wall on the southern border, but instead it blew up over what the president said or didn't say last Thursday at that contentious meeting here at the White House over immigration. Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen, as you mentioned, held firm in saying that last Thursday she did not hear the president utter that expletive, leading Democrat Cory Booker to charge that her silence and amnesia made her, in his words, complicit in the president's comments. Now, Nielsen clearly trying to pivot and change the narrative and send a signal to the president's base that he's all about not words but action by saying he's taking action to crack down on illegal immigration. The secretary announcing today the administration is talking to federal prosecutors about launching criminal charges against local officials in sanctuary cities that refuse to follow through on federal orders to deport criminals. Also new today, the Department of Justice revealed it's going to try and go directly to the Supreme Court to fast-track its appeal of a federal judge's ruling that new DACA applications can start up. Republican Lindsey Graham, meanwhile, charged all that's a dramatic turn from 1 week ago today when the president gathered both parties in the cabinet room, you see it there, and said he wanted a deal where he would take care of the DACA kids with love while also tightening border security. But Graham charged that last Thursday morning around 10 a.m., he and Democratic Senator Dick Durbin called over to the president to read him out on a bipartisan deal they were putting together. But by the time they made it to the Oval Office around noon, someone on the White House staff, senior advisor Stephen Miller or someone else, had convinced the president to turn against a deal. Graham today lashed out about that.
Something happened between 10 and 12, and I like Secretary Nielsen. She's a nice person. And we'll get to the bottom of this, but here's what's going to matter. How does it end? How does it end? Does it end with the government shutting down? We cannot do this with people in charge at the White House who have an irrational view of how to fix immigration.
But new tonight, a senior administration official fired back to me that is not how it played out. This official said Graham and Durbin, in his words, begged for an Oval Office meeting to present their own deal that went around a framework that House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy had been working on. This official declared that Graham, quote, tried to sabotage the framework. Nobody knew what was in the damn plan, this person said. The president was frustrated and hit Graham with questions, and Lindsey had no answers. The president shut him down. So the bottom line is it's gotten very contentious on immigration, leading to questions about will this lead to a government shutdown? As you noted, that's unlikely to happen. And in fact, a top official here at the White House tonight told me they're willing to call the Democrats' bluff. If the Democrats are willing to shut down the government over a clean bill on DACA, this White House is prepared to let Democrats do that, Sean.
And the government never shuts down. Essential employees stay in place. Other people get a furlough. Then they get all their money back on a free vacation. That's just the facts. Ed, thanks so much. We appreciate that reporting. Fox News national security strategist Sebastian Gorka joins us now, as well as the author of the brand new best-selling book. It's called The New American Revolution, The Making of a Populist Movement. RNC spokesperson Kayleigh McEnany's with us. One thing I will say about what Ed was just discussing, I know Dick Durbin called the president. I know Dick Durbin said we have a deal. But Dick Durbin only had a deal with Lindsey Graham. Nobody else was in the deal. And then Lindsey Graham and Dick Durbin, Dr. Gorka, they come out with their statement, then contradicted by other people, so I wasn't there.
Well, we all know Dick Durbin's rather elastic relationship with the truth. At the end of the day, it's a very simple equation. We have half of the congressmen and women on Capitol Hill who will do whatever it takes to block this president. And let's just translate that into what it means in terms of policy. They don't want to secure the border. They don't want to reform immigration. They want to maintain this Russian roulette of the diversity lottery. They want to maintain chain migration. Remember the New York attacker on the bicycle path, a terrorist that was able, through chain migration, to sponsor 23 people to come into this country. And let's go even further. Tax reform. How many Democrats voted for tax reform, Sean? None. It comes down to this. We have one party, the DNC, that wants Americans to suffer. All the good things the president has done, they are trying to block. And at the end of the day, it's un-American.
And Kayleigh, the deal was really simple because 5 years ago, a lot of these same Democrats are on record saying we've got to secure the border, voting for 700 miles of the wall, which the president wants 5 years ago. They're such hypocrites. Then we're going to end chain migration, which was a big report out by the Department of Homeland Security. That's where a lot of our problems come from in terms of security in this country. And also, they wanted merit-based immigration policies. The Democrats don't want DACA because they want it as an issue in 2018. Isn't that what's really going on?
That's exactly right. They want to run on this in 2018. And you're so correct to point out their hypocrisies. They once cared about the border. They do no longer. But you know what? I want to say to Kamala Harris and Nancy Pelosi, you sit on that cozy little congressional platform deriding the Trump administration for wanting to secure the border. Have you sat across from Susan Oliver, from Jessica Davis, who lost their police officer husbands to an illegal immigrant who crossed the border not once, but twice and had multiple felonies, and who today, Sean, in a court in Sacramento said, I wish I could have killed more of those beep expletives. That's the type of people we're dealing with here, and they can sit on their cozy perches, but there's a human toll to the policies you implement from on high.
All right, let me go back to Dr. Gorka. You know, we have what is told to me will shock the conscience of America in terms of what the House Intel Committee has in their possession. We've got to get it out. Adam Schiff raced tonight to say, Steve Bannon would talk about this. And I'm like, is he allowed to do that? Dianne Feinstein leaks Fusion GPS, all the testimony. Imagine if Devin Nunes did it, what the reaction would be. And then you see the media hysteria. Oh my God, the president's healthy and he doesn't have early onset and he doesn't have dementia, and they like had a fit today.
As my good friend who has the best radio show in D.C., Chris Plant, says, if the left wing didn't have double standards, they'd have no standards at all. What is it about the last 11 months that these people don't like? Are they against making this nation safer? Yeah. Are they against the 2,600 Dow rally? It makes no sense. It's just politics for the sake of politics. Right. But the good news is Americans see through it.